It's no secret that DC fans have been divided over the last decade, and while I'm someone who has liked some of the things we've seen, I also feel like it's an exciting time to look forward because of the range of approaches we could be getting. And this involves both the stuff within the core DCU, but also the films outside of it, which is now known as DC Elseworlds. There's always the potential for more disappointments with the future of DC and any comic book movie for that sake, but I think with everything we've heard over the last week or so from James Gunn, that there's also a good chance that this can be pulled off in a big way too. In this video essay, I'm going to be giving you my thoughts towards DC's future, both through the main DCU projects and also the DC Elseworlds movies too, discussing the vast potential it has in the times ahead and the main reasons for that. Before I get into it though, if you want to keep up to date on any of my future content surrounding the DCU, Matt Reeves' The Batman universe, and other upcoming DC projects, then don't forget to support this upload by giving it a like rating, subscribing to the channel, and turning on your notifications. But without further ado, let's dive into my video essay on why the upcoming DCU and DC Elseworlds projects can be great. So with the recent announcements for the DCU film slate and the DC Elseworlds plans, it got me thinking about the future of DC and whether I'm excited about what's in store. For the record, I'm someone who has liked some of the recent DC movies and also ones of the past, but I found the last decade to be an up and down period overall. For instance, of the previous DCEU projects, I really liked Man of Steel, Wonder Woman, and the Snyder Cut of Justice League. At the same time, I didn't love what we saw with DCEU installments like the Wonder Woman sequel, the original Suicide Squad, and even the recent Black Adam film. A lot of the others I found to be quite in the middle of that, and while they weren't absolutely terrible, I just didn't think they were particularly great or promised a sense of long-form storytelling. And then when it comes to the separated DC projects like the Batman and Joker, I found those to be more appealing because they've given us a different kind of comic book movie, one that critics and audiences love, and ones that do extremely well at the box office too. So as a whole, it's been a mixed era for DC, one that has had some absolute gold, but then one that has also had some disappointing missteps too. So you may be asking, with the recently announced slate of DC with films like Superman Legacy, The Brave and the Bold, and the Elseworlds movies, what makes this any different? Well, to begin with, I think what really excites me about DC's future is the promise of more variety. I'm currently in a phase with comic book films where for 80% of the time, I go into studio-based projects and expect a quite middle-of-the-line blockbuster film. We've seen that with the recent Phase 4 of Marvel, giving us quite muddy films, both visually and in the stories they adapt to. Sure, from time to time we get a No Way Home or an Endgame, but what kept the excitement there was nostalgia, character crossovers, or large-scale spectacle. We haven't seen the level of impressive individual storytelling from Marvel that we got in the opening phase, in the later phases like with The Winter Soldier or Guardians of the Galaxy, or in the stuff around that like with Logan, Sam Raimi's Spider-Man trilogy, or the earlier X-Men films. More importantly though, the filmmaking just hasn't been that great. Personally, I feel like I go into a universe-based comic book movie expecting to consume more product that will set up the next product, and the product that I consume isn't of the quality that will make me revisit that individual effort in 10 years' time. And the resulting feeling I get is one of growing exhaustion. On the other hand, while DC have put out some absolute stinkers in Wonder Woman 1984 and Black Adam, there have been a few gems in recent years that have focused more on the individual storytelling coupled with competent filmmaking. 2019's Joker gave us the Oscar-winning portrayal of a mentally ill man becoming a villain in the downfall of society. The Snyder Cut of Justice League gave us an authentic version of a director's superhero team-up that, while is liked and disliked by many, to me it had a well-told visual story amongst its central characters, showing that troubled individuals with broken families can come together to form a new one that will help others. James Gunn's The Suicide Squad sequel was similar in those regards, and it showed that Gunn had a deep fascination for DC that was yet to be explored even further. And Matt Reeves' The Batman gave us the detective noir take on the Caped Crusader that Bat fans have wanted to see for a long time, one that again resulted in numerous Oscar nominations and success at the box office. Just over these last few years, DC have shown variety and the particular focus of not just making a connected universe, but individually well-made films that are all different. Heck, I'm probably one of the only people on the internet who actually likes some of Snyder's films, The Batman, The Suicide Squad, and Joker. But while in recent times we've seen that the DC fanbase has been divided quite heavily, I think the plan going forward has shown that the studio, James Gunn, and everyone else involved going forward has somewhat learnt from the quality and success of these recent films and projects. They now know that regardless of whether they make a traditional universe film or one outside of it, that they have to continue to focus on individual quality. Yes, you plan a 8 to 10 year film slate with a long growing story, but if you come out of the gates with Superman Legacy and it's not good on its own, then things start to become shaky. They have to focus on the individual stories and filmmakers within that extended plan, and the fact that they are aiming to give us a variety of that, both within the universe and the stuff outside of it, then it's a side to these new announcements that makes me very excited. When it comes to the DCU side of things, having a creative lead like James Gunn and not just a studio head spearheading the universe, then there's this growing sense that the filmmakers who sign on to make these projects are going to be the types that will have creative control. Directors like Snyder didn't have that to the extent that they would have liked, and I think the evidence of Justice League only speaks to that point. Whereas by having an actual creative comic book director at the helm, I think there's a greater chance that filmmakers can make a more creative cinematic universe with various types of films. There's already been the mention that DC are aiming to attract filmmakers like James Mangold and Christopher McQuarrie to do universe-based films and not the separated Elseworlds stuff, and that on its own is really fascinating. You'd think the director of Logan or the recent Mission Impossible films would be those that lead more towards the Elseworlds type of movies. But no, this actually seems like the caliber of filmmaker that they want for the DCU as well. Of course, filmmakers like this aren't confirmed as of yet, but it shows the promise of a new DC and one that is looking for high caliber filmmakers to put their stamps on different comic book characters. The new slate of DC includes films that range from Superman all the way to Swamp Thing, giving the opportunity for an element of surprise, not just from the unique characters we get on screen, but the people who sign on to make them and the filmmaking styles that bring it all to life. Of course, all of this could go wrong, and by 2027 we may be asking for them to reboot the whole thing all over again, but the promise for a slightly different universe, based on the projects announced, does give me the hope that they can surprise us through the quality on screen. And by doing that consistently over Chapter 1, you can really build a universe and attract a large audience through individually great films. But say the DCU doesn't work, what would people turn to and what would provide an attraction point that films like The Batman and Joker have been incredibly successful at these past couple of years? Well, coming back to that point on variety, DC have actually gone ahead and done something that I've really wanted to see them do for probably the last 5 years. When Todd Phillips' Joker came out, the filmmaker said in interviews that he really liked the idea of a DC Black Label. And that is the idea that DC would have unique, more artistic endeavours separated from the core DC universe to provide the comic book genre with a new form of life. It would allow talented filmmakers to come in and hopefully make films like Joker that have wild approaches to characters we know and don't know, and possibly result in successful films that are more in line with Oscar-nominated ones than they are with the conventional comic book fare. Joker proved that this model may be something that DC should turn to, because clearly the audience weren't responding as much to the universe movies in the ways that the studio wanted. And then when Matt Reeves' Batman film comes along, one that's again separated from the core universe, it makes it a no-brainer for DC to dive into that approach even further. So now, alongside a new DC cinematic universe, we have DC Elseworlds. This is incredibly exciting because unlike other studios, DC have got that extended plan of variety already in place. Yes, Marvel have got that special presentation thing in motion and it's working quite well, but we haven't seen that for the big screen yet. Whereas with DC, they have proven examples of the individual takes being successful with both the Batman and Joker. With Elseworlds already having a few films lined up with the Batman Part 2, Joker Folie à Deux, and the Black Superman film, the brand is giving audiences different types of comic book projects and releasing them simultaneously with the universe stuff. So if you prefer the long-form storytelling of a cinematic universe, then why not try James Gunn's new chapter of the DCU? Or if you're like me, and you're more attracted to the individual comic book movies that are separate and do their own thing, then you've got DC Elseworlds. That to me is a great plan that, looking ahead, has the potential to be really successful. And even if things don't work out with the DCU, then if they continue to put out films like the Batman and Joker with the Elseworlds stuff, then I think we're going to get some great films regardless. Looking at it in a general sense though, whether it's universe-based or not, we've got intelligent filmmakers spearheading all of this future content. We've got one of Marvel and now DC's best creatives leading an extensive universe with 2 theatrical films coming each year. James Gunn and Peter Safran aren't overdoing it and putting out 4 projects a year because they'd rather make each individual project with care and focus on a limited amount so that they can do that just right. And then we've got extremely talented filmmakers on the Elseworlds side of things too, with Reeves, Phillips and so on. Just imagine in the next few years if we got a Luthor movie in the vein of Joker and it was directed by an all-time filmmaker like David Fincher or someone like that. Not saying that this would happen, but like we've seen with Todd Phillips and Matt Reeves, the DC Elseworlds category allows for that kind of filmmaking and storytelling to happen at the same time. So overall, I think DC has a bright future ahead, and while the brand has had up and down periods over the last 10 years, the certain focus on a new model of extended variety is something that makes me excited for what's in store. But that was my video discussing the potential of the DCU and DC Elseworlds. I'm fascinated to see how each film in both categories will individually be tackled, and like we have been promised, I'm expecting filmmakers to get the creative control that they need to distinguish their take on a comic book movie or TV show. We saw over a decade ago how Warner Brothers gave Christopher Nolan the control to make a trilogy of Batman films after he delivered a great pitch. We saw the same with filmmakers like Todd Phillips, Matt Reeves and Zack Snyder with their respective approaches, and hopefully James Gunn and Peter Safran will offer new filmmakers the chance to make their unique projects after seeing what they propose. Quality filmmakers is what excites me the most about DC pulling off a good sense of variety in their films, and we can only hope that in 2025 and onwards that we start to see some good installments from both the DCU and Elseworlds too. But let me know whether you're excited for the future of DC and what you would personally love to see from both sides of the studio's new structure. Let me know down below in the comment section. For much more videos and news on DC and its future announcements, then subscribe to the channel and turn on your notifications. Also, if you enjoyed this video, remember to leave a like rating and follow me on social media via the links in the description. But anyway, I hope you guys enjoyed it. I've been Cortex, and as always, make some noise.